Lilith in Aries is a fiery placement. This placement is independent. Don't want to be dominated, don't want to be told what to do, don't want to fit into a box, don't want to respond to any of society's expectations.
Salut les amis! Merci d'être venus, passer du temps avec moi. Welcome! My name is Natalie. I am a former mental health therapist turned astrologer, and today I want to talk to you about Lilith in Aries. Aries Lilith is one of the most powerful of the dark feminine archetypes because Aries is ruled by Mars. Mars is the planet of war, the planet of action, the planet of destruction, the planet of annihilation, the planet that rules over blood. This is why the planet Mars has red soil. And the reason why lots of people are trying to go to Mars right now is because there's evidence that there used to be life on Mars. So the evidence that scientists have found of the existence of life on Mars is what's motivating them to think of Mars as being the next destination, once we've destroyed planet Earth. So let's talk Lilith and Aries. I wanted to share this tidbit to let you know how powerful Aries energy is. It's important for you to know that connection between your Lilith and Aries placement and where it falls, because that is a specific area of your life where you're going to feel the most erased. When you have Lilith and Aries, there's a consensus to erase you, to eliminate you, to make you feel small. Black Moon Lilith in Aries can manifest in the following ways as a result of this independence and very fiery nature. Lilith in Aries has a rebellious nature, okay? These individuals champion freedom at all costs. They often will reject a compromise for the sake of keeping their freedom. Lilith in Aries can engage in rebellious or even sometimes in scandalous behavior on purpose when their independence is threatened. They do this. Hi, Elle. Hi, We Lunch Humanity 9. Hi, you have Lilith and Aquarius in the 8th house. Very good. I'm going to be going over all of the Lilith placements. Hi, Coffee Chats. Hi, Deborah. So don't be alarmed. I need you to know today we're focusing on Aries, but your time will come. And, as far as your Chiron placements, these are the other placements. Generally, most people don't get into these placements when they're talking about astrology, even though that's where the real healing is, honestly. Because if you have not mastered these energies, you don't have dominance over yourself. And when you don't have dominance over yourself, you cannot dominate anything because you are the creator. You're the architect. So when the architect does not have a steady hand with the ruler and is not able to clearly create a blueprint that makes sense and that's organized and that's stable, then, the building is not going to work out because we need the lines to be straight and we need the points to make sense. So if you are curious about healing some of this energy, you can head over to Styled Under Virgo, which is my YouTube channel where I talk about healing, holistic healing, and health. So I did a whole series on Chiron through all the zodiac signs, so you can go check it out. I already have done a video on Lilith and all the astrology zodiac signs, going into like superficially what to expect from all of them. So I will be covering Aquarius in that one. But this one is going to be an in-depth analysis of Lilith in Aries, okay? So the first point that I mentioned with the general description of Lilith in Aries is a rebellious nature. Hi, Heather Mary. Thanks for hanging out. Because independence is very important to them. So when their independence feels threatened, they will rebel. That's kind of their natural response to feeling like they're being controlled. They don't like the feeling of being controlled. Oh, Elle, you have Lilith in Aries at the 9th house. Okay, this is definitely for you then, because mastering this energy is tied to your luck, your expansion, your growth in this universe. You're not going to be able to, kind of code the world for your will, if you want to think about it that way. You're not going to be able to tell the world what to do with your energy until you master this energy within yourself. So moving on to talking about the general description of Lilith and Aries. So the first was rebellious nature. The second one is strong will. Okay. This placement brings an assertive and powerful will. It's willpower at the nth degree. Okay. It's
not just like, oh, I feel strong, I'm gonna do things. It's willpower for the sake of asserting one's dominance. So it ties the will, which is like your physical might, with the soul's desire to expand. And that's precisely what makes Lilith and Aries so powerful, is because when they are balanced energetically, they understand that their will is God's will. Does that make sense? So they understand their will is the divine purpose. Their will is the universe desire. So they're no longer tiptoeing around other people's feelings to assert their will, because they understand that their will is why they came to this universe. They came to this universe to be themselves and to do what it is that they desire to do. So individuals with Lilith and Aries often take the lead. They often express their individuality in a very forceful manner, because it's important to them to let the world know who they are, what they want, and what they're after. Lilith and Aries can also struggle with their self-image in general. While they may project this appearance of being very confident, and I'm not saying that they're not confident. I'm saying underneath that confidence, they can sometimes grapple with insecurities because they have a distorted view of themselves. This can sometimes lead to tension in their relationships and tension in how they feel about themselves and how other people perceive them. A perfect example of I just made a video. I'm not sure if you guys saw it, but when you go to my main TikTok page, the very last video that I made is about Lilith and Aries. And I said that Madonna had this placement, as well as Michael Jackson, John Lennon, and Prince. So when thinking about this idea of having a strong persona, a confident persona, but also grappling with self-image, I can't help but think about, Madonna and all the changes that she's made to her body in this later part of her life. And Michael Jackson, as we all know, has gone through so many metamorphoses with his image, as a result of like health issues that he was dealing with, but also like insecurities with himself and his looks in general. So there is a struggle with self-image that is very common with Lilith and Aries, because Aries is the seed. It's the will to exist. It's the infant of the zodiac. It's the very first human on earth. And this reckoning with the self comes along with issues with identity, issues with autonomy, issues with sexuality, issues with confidence. So some of that plays into, their physical looks. Okay. Thanks to you guys that are tapping on the screen. I really appreciate it. If you guys could help out, please, by tapping on the screen so we can get the likes up. We're currently at 58. I would like it if we can get in the thousands. That would be very encouraging. So thank you so much for doing that. Hi, Ro. Thank you for sending me a hand heart. I appreciate it. I'll send you one back. Thank you so much for being here. All right. So moving on to another aspect of the personality of this placement. It's raw energy. Okay. The combination of Lilith and Aries creates a sort of raw, unbridled sexual and creative energy that is not, that you cannot tame. Okay. These people are unafraid of challenges. They're unafraid of boundaries. They're unafraid of power games. They're unafraid of sexuality. They're unafraid of identity. They're fearless, completely fearless. And they attack everything with this kind of heads on, super powerful, super dominant, very heavy energy on the offset. They have a trailblazing spirit as a result of that. And that's why the universe has given them all this power. A lot of who you are is because of what you're here to accomplish in this world. And this is what I wish everybody understood about their astrology. It's not just your sun sign. It's a specific energetic DNA that was given to you to accomplish something very specific. In the case of Aries, the specific task is to blaze a new trail. When the universe has given you the job of blazing a new trail, it makes sense, right? That you would also be given this super raw, dominant, and powerful energy to be able to do just that. So Lilith and Aries are often trailblazers for this reason. They have a strong pioneering instinct. They're not afraid to carve their own path. Their unique perspective makes them trailblazers in any field that they're in. And as a result, they attract a lot of criticism. When you're the first one to ever do anything, nobody's going to like you. It comes with the territory. So you can't expect to both be powerful and liked at the same time. When you're the first one to do it, you are weird. Okay? When you're Kamala Harris, which by the way, I'm not saying that she's Lilith in Aries, I haven't looked at her chart. I'm just saying when you're the first woman to want to become president, the world is not going to go, in America specifically, America is not going to go, oh my God, this is such a beautiful idea. Let's roll out the red carpet for you. When you're Hillary Clinton and you're the first woman to want to be president, same reaction. When you're Barack Obama and you're the first Black president, same reaction. You get the drift. When you're the first to do it, the power, the intensity, the ingenuity that you bring to the table, the rebellious energy that you bring is exciting and scary. Okay? So all these characters that I mentioned that are Lilith and Aries, Michael Jackson, right? Prince, John Lennon, Madonna. Now that they've passed, they've transitioned, we tend to favor the dead, right? When people die, we tend to have more positive things to say about them. When these people were alive, in the case of Prince and Michael Jackson, John Lennon, people were not saying all good things. When you die, they say all good things. When you're alive and you're powerful and you're trying to do new things, they resent you. They resent you for it. So Lilith in Aries is dominant and powerful because they can take the heat. They can take the criticism. They can take the resentment. They can take the anger. They know how to swallow all of that, okay? Another key component with this placement is that because you are rejected for being too much, which you are, by the way, there's nothing wrong with it, but I need you to acknowledge that you are. Because if you don't know that you are, you don't know how to maneuver it. You have to know that it's too much energy. You need to know what you are so you know how to deal with other people who have less than what you have, okay? Because you don't want to overwhelm people because you need partnership. To have partnership, you have to make people feel safe, okay? So oftentimes, because your energy is too much and because you have to do things on your own and you have to be out there creating, trailblazing and creating new paths, there is a lot of rejection that comes with this placement. There's a lot of attacks on your identity, on your self-esteem, on your self-worth. There's a lot of attacks on your confidence, spiritual attacks on your families of origin. That's really where it started. And then the rest of the world follows that same trail until you heal from it. And what I mean from healing from it, I don't mean that people will stop attacking you. I mean that it will no longer matter to you what they think, because you'll be so tapped into your spiritual purpose that is what you're focused on. So oftentimes this placement comes with a lot of trauma from childhood, a lot of trauma from childhood stemming from repressed issues with parental figures who potentially made them feel that their existence was an act of rebellion. There's a lot of deep-seated defiance that comes with this zodiac placement because they resist this idea of being controlled, because their families try to control them and were unsuccessful. So oftentimes, when they get in partnership is when you can see this a lot. When they get in relationship, these people struggle to be collaborators in relationship. They don't know how to be, they don't know how to share power in relationship. They struggle with that because they're afraid that if they give too much of their power away, they're going to be taken for a ride. They're going to be abused. They're going to be subjugated. They're going to be undermined. So we can get into that during another conversation when talking about how Lilith and Aries shows up in relationship. All right, so let's summarize some of the personality traits of Lilith and Aries, and then we're going to move on to talk about the emotional challenges of this placement. Number 1, fiercely independent, as you should be. There's an instinctive need here to carve your own path and to resist being controlled. Autonomy is not optional for this placement. It's their existence. You have to do it on your own, and you have to do the weird thing. You have to go your own way. They can feel suffocated by rules, by hierarchies, by institutions, by anyone trying to tame them. This is a wild, free spirit that is not to be tamed. Number 2, they are courageous and bold. Lilith in Aries is not the kind of person who's going to be afraid to take the first step towards unknown territory. They're pioneers in the way they think, in the way they create, in their social dynamics. They're brave with asserting themselves, their beliefs, their authority, their strength. They're brave with challenging authority. They don't shy away from a fight. Number 3, Lilith in Aries is instinctively honest, meaning that they have a good gut instinct. Remember, Aries rules war. Aries is ruled by Mars, the god of war. Okay? War is about blood and gore. Okay? A person that is ruled by the god of war has been given or granted amazing instincts so they can survive during battle. So Lilith in Aries gut is very tuned into what's authentic, what isn't. They're very tuned into how powerful people are versus the energy that people are trying to project. So oftentimes when they speak the truth, it comes across very bluntly. And it makes people uncomfortable because they can sense hypocrisy. They can sense fake energy. They can also sense injustice. They can sense unfairness in the energy, and they like to call it out, and they're brave in asserting their beliefs and in calling, unfairness out and challenging the status quo. And that energy can be very intimidating to people, even though it's raw, it's real, it's authentic. But you have to remember, we live in the fake world, okay? We don't live in the world that likes real. We live in the world that is fake. So if you want to survive in the fake world, Lilith and Aries, I need you to know how to use the fake world to your advantage. And what I mean by that is, it's not that you have to change yourself. It's that you have to get in the game. And getting in the game requires you knowing that you're in a fake world. Does that make sense? Those of you that have Lilith and Aries, do you know what I mean by that? Let me know that you understand. Let me know that you understand what I mean by that. And then I'm going to read some of your comments. Someone said, what the heck? I thought I was already following you. What do you mean? You can check the followers list to see if you're following me. Is TikTok malfunctioning? Perhaps. I'm not sure. Oh, my Lilith is in Aries. Let's hear what you're talking about. Well, thanks for coming to hang out, Lilith and Aries. Elle said, yeah. Miss Aries baby said, I just stay in my house, girl. That's funny. Yeah, I guess that's how you avoid people. But here's the thing, though, Aries, Lilith and Aries. Aries is a leader, so you can't lead if you're avoiding people. To be a leader, you have to be around people. So hopefully you get out sometimes. Yvette, thank you for stopping by. All right. So now, moving on to the next point, as far as the personality traits of Lilith and Aries. Lilith in Aries is sexually and energetically magnetic. What I mean by that is that their libido and creative energy is wrapped up in their sense of self. This is why this placement often struggles with monogamous relationship, where it's just them and one person, like you and one person, and it's just the two of you in a relationship and you're not seeing other people. This placement really struggles with this because Lilith in Aries is not made to be in that kind of a relationship. Because they have a high drive in terms of their sexuality, and they have a quest for variety in terms of how they express that. And their sexuality is directly tied to their success in life, unfortunately, or perhaps fortunately for them. So these signs are going to struggle to be sexually committed to one person and sexually faithful to one person, because the work that they're here to create is not about a connection to others. It's about a connection to themselves. So being sexually free is a way for them to kind of pant their energy over other people. So it's really about expressing their energy in as many different ways as possible creatively. And sexuality is a form of creativity. So having
honoring their sexuality is really tied to their freedom. It's important to them to not resist the freedom that comes along with being sexually free. It's important for them to get away from other people objectifying them sexually, get away from playing into other people's hands with how they express their sexuality, get away from other people controlling their sexuality. It's really about having sovereignty and dominance over your own body and using it however it's pleasing to you, whether that is being asexual or hypersexual. It doesn't really matter, but it's really about you owning what that is and being comfortable with what that is for yourself. But traditionally, and then you may notice in the examples that I gave, John Lennon, Prince, Michael Jackson, Madonna, some of them have attempted marriage, but as you could see, has not been successful because this placement is not very good for that. Ms. Aries Baby said, but I've been married for years, younger days though. Ooh, yeah, good for you. Thank you, Purple Melon. Thanks for stopping by. The next personality trait of Lilith and Aries is that they're passionately self-starters, okay? Passionately self-determined. Once these people commit themselves to a path, like a project or a relationship, they tend to give it their full intensity. It's like all or nothing energy because war, right? Aggression, violence, dominance, competition. Like you can't do that well if your energy isn't focused. So their fire can definitely inspire the people around them, but it also intimidates people because most people are not ready for that type of gore, for that type of savagery. I love that word with Aries because Aries really exemplifies that energy to the fullest, you know? Like Aries is not into the fake stuff. It's like, give it to me real and give it to me raw. If you're not interested in that, then this is not working out, you know? For most people, like, you know, they like to do it cutesy and Aries doesn't want to do it cutesy. Aries wants to do it raw. So that passion is unbridled, you know, and yeah, it can be off-putting to people who don't have like this lust for life. Because that's really what's underneath it, is that Lilith in Aries is very lustful for life. You know, all fire signs have this energy, but Lilith in Aries in particular. Okay, now the last bullet point that I want to make regarding the personality traits of Lilith in Aries is regarding their trailblazing spirit, which I touched on earlier already. They're often drawn to challenges. Okay, these people love a good war. They love a good competition. They're very drawn to situations where they have to show what they're made out of, you know, show what their strength really is, show whether they're going to fold or whether they're going to fight and how long they're going to fight and how they're really going to show up. Lilith in Aries is definitely very much into power struggles, very much into power dynamics, very much into exerting their independence outside of gender roles, societal expectations. These are people who don't play into the box that society gives them. You know, when I think about Prince, even like his fashion sense, like Prince was like a man that gave feminine energy, but he was not gay. Everybody knew Prince was not gay. Everybody knew Prince really liked women and was really into beautiful women. But Prince would dress like the beautiful women he was into. You get what I'm saying? So it's really about freedom to be yourself, to be your true, authentic self. And, you know, Prince, in every sense of the term, was a trailblazer, but where it stands out the most for me in the obvious way is the fashion, the way he would carry himself, the way he would speak, the way he would dress, you know, and he was such a petite man, but his energy was so big that you forgot that he was so short. Does anyone know how short Prince was? I wish someone could tell me, but like, given how powerful he is or was, I just have a sense that he was like 5 feet something. But he felt like a giant, didn't he? Rest his soul. May God have mercy on his soul. So that's what I mean, being a trailblazer. He was 5'2". Thank you, Erica, for looking that up. I appreciate you. Yeah, but he, like, look at his energy. There's nothing about Prince that would say 5'2". He was shorter than me. That's crazy.
His energy definitely did not give 5-2. Why? Because he was confident. And that is the epitome of Aries energy when it's healthy. By the way, a lot of people accuse Leo of being like an egomaniac, but the real egomaniac is Aries of the zodiac, okay? And that's because the id is exalted at Aries, okay? The sun, which is the id, in psychology, the id is the sun. So in astrology, it's the sun. In psychology, it's the id. The id is exalted at the sun, okay? So Leo is ruled by the sun, but Leo is not exalted at the sun. Aries is more confident than a Leo. Aries is more confident than a Leo when Aries is healthy, because the Arian confidence also comes with power, with war energy, with might, with fight, with strength, like physical strength, the Ram, okay? The sun is not the Ram. Granted, I'm not saying that a Leo is not confident. Aries is a beast, is what I'm saying. Aries is literal savagery. Aries is the essence of savagery. You've got to respect it. You've got to love it. It's raw energy. This is why Aries make the best surgeons. The best surgeons in the world are Aries. And one day, these random fun facts that I know about the zodiac signs, one day I'm actually going to have time to actually research so I can show you guys like data. Like as an example, like I made a video recently about like zodiac signs that have the most youthful spirit. You know, those are zodiac signs that tend to live longer. And I actually took the time to research the top 10 oldest people in the world right now. And guess what? All those zodiac signs were represented. Some of them multiple times. So this isn't just like woo-woo stuff. This is legit energetic vibration. Aries is gore. You got to get inside the guts. It's blood and gore. If you're afraid of blood, it's not going to work. You cannot be afraid of blood and be an Aries. Now, Leo may not want to get blood on their clothes. Aries enjoys it. That's the difference. Let's talk about the emotional challenges of Lilith and Aries. Number 1. Can anyone guess what number 1 is? Miss Aries Baby said you're right. I love Aries energy. It's the fighter. It's the fighter energy. It's the, I can do it by myself if I believe in myself. And if I work hard, I can do it. That's Aries all day, every day. When they're healed. When they're not healed, that's not actually what happens. So Miss Aries Baby said, I have a lot of Aries in my chart. Wonderful. I love to hear that. Yeah, I love fire signs. I'm biased, of course. All right. Anyone wants to guess what the number 1 emotional challenge of Lilith and Aries is? This is moving a little slower than I anticipated. We might have to save Lilith through the houses for our next chat. And I also had a list of celebrities who have this placement that I wanted to go over just to give you real life examples of what that looks like in the wild. So I already mentioned 4. But I wanted to go into some other ones and tell you specifically how Aries energy shows up in these placements. So it's okay if we stop at the emotional challenges today, and then I'll answer questions, and then we'll, next time we meet, we'll do some other ones. It's probably better this way, more fun, because then we get to like drag it out a little bit more, so it gets a little bit more detailed. Okay, so anyone wants to guess what the number 1 issue is with Lilith and Aries in terms of like emotional challenges? I'm still waiting for an answer. I don't want to say it because I know you guys know what it is. What is the number 1 issue with Aries, even if it's not at the Lilith placement, that they struggle with the most? Come on. Don't let me do all the talking. My voice is getting hoarse. Come on. You think their independence is what Rochelle said. So their independence is actually a good thing, but yeah, sometimes it can turn a little dark where they like push people away. Yeah, but Miss Mary's, thank you, Rochelle, for your guess, but Miss Aries Baby got it right. It's anger. Yes, anger. Anger and lack of patience is number 1. Aries Lilith has a deep-seated rage that lives inside of them at all times. Okay? If you know yourself, you need to know this about yourself and embrace this about yourself. This is a part of your cosmic makeup. A deep-seated rage that is constantly there, ready to detonate at any time.
When their autonomy is threatened is when this rage will detonate the most. Lilith in Aries can explode very quickly over things that may seem minute to other people. Often, other people struggle to understand how such small things can feel like such an existential violation for them. It's very hard for people to understand what sets them off and why those things set them off, because to the rest of us, those seem like small things. Another aspect of this anger and impatience that often is overlooked with Lilith and Aries is this impulsive aggression. And what I mean by that is this need to verbally attack in a playful manner, okay? Aries loves to banter. Aries loves to war. And there's nothing wrong with banter and war in a playful way, as long as the other person is also playing. But Aries Lilith will sometimes pretend to not know that their playful banter is actually insults disguised as games. And that's when they run into issues with other people. So the verbal attacks, the impulsive aggression, whenever they feel any slight, they will go overboard trying to reestablish their dominance, or they would just simply withdraw in anger and leave, with that cold anger. Like, all of those expressions are not healthy ways of doing relationships. If you're dealing with someone who is very sensitive, then maybe you don't do the verbal banter with them, because they're not going to take it as a joke. They're going to get hurt and your relationship will get frayed. And if somebody does something that makes you feel triggered, maybe we take a minute and ask ourselves, I feel disrespected. I feel disrespected right now. I wonder why I'm feeling disrespected. What's happening right now that's making me feel disrespected? Do you see that? This is about emotional maturity. This is about emotional intelligence. This is about emotional growth. Aries has a quick trigger because of war, because of Mars, because of this need to destroy, to dominate. But that kind of energy doesn't succeed in the world if you do not know how to tame your anger. Okay? So whenever you feel a slight violation, instead of acting or reacting in most cases, which is what Mars does, is the planet of action, take a pause to breathe, feel your feelings, and then ask yourself, why do you feel the way that you feel? Because again, when people do things, they're not doing things with the intention of making you feel something specific. Sometimes they are, but not all the time. So if somebody does something that makes you feel something negative, it's upon you to investigate, why do I feel this negative emotion from this action, which is without meaning? This action is an emotional action designed to make me feel something. I am choosing to interpret this action as disrespect. So the mature Lilith and Aries then will go, what is it about this that's making me feel disrespected? Because I choose how I feel. No one can make me feel anything. People can try to be disrespectful towards me, but if I see them as just wounded children that are insecure and that are trying to get attention from me, their actions have no emotional impact on me because I see them for who they really are. So I don't automatically feel the need to lash out to establish my dominance. But there are times when that's warranted. If you can sense that the person is intentionally doing things to be disrespectful. So it's really about being aware of your shadow, being aware of your deep-seated rage and your tendency to unleash it without self-awareness. It's better when you unleash it with awareness, because then you can be intentional with your response. Number 2, fear of vulnerability. Aries Lilith is deeply afraid of being seen as somebody that is weak and somebody that needs other people to survive. Dependence is terrifying to this placement, okay? They avoid emotional intimacy. They hide sensitivity behind
being tough and being defiant and being argumentative and being uncompromising, simply because they do not want to be perceived as being needy, even though they are. Lilith in Aries is a needy, emotional placement because Aries, as the infant of the zodiac, is a needy, emotionally needy zodiac sign. Their fear of vulnerability can show up as putting emotional walls up whenever they feel triggered, not wanting to ask for help, even when it's clear they're struggling, being defensive when others offer help. They see it as a threat. How dare you offer help? How dare you make me feel weak by asking to help me? They also struggle with seeing others as collaborators. They see others as competition. So if you're giving me help, then that means I need you. But I never want to feel like I need anybody. So as a result, I cannot accept help from anyone. Lilith and Aries that are on this live, what do you guys think about what I just described? And if you guys could continue tapping on the screen for me, I would really appreciate it. It means a lot to me when you interact with the screen because it lets TikTok know that you're here. You know, sometimes they lock me out after a while. You guys got super quiet on me. Is this too close for comfort? You guys got super quiet on me. Is this too close for comfort? You just got. You guys still there? It's okay if you don't want to talk about it. I'll move on to the next one. The next emotional issue that Lilith in Aries faces is seeing rebellion as a reflex. Hold Up said, you did great, thank you. Elle said, analyzing my own chart as you're speaking. Oh, very good. Christina said, I'm not an Aries Lilith, but that sounds like somebody I know. Yeah. So these traits can also show up at any Aries placement because when Aries is not balanced, meaning when they have not mastered themselves and they're living in their shadow, their ego, which is what the shadow is, you will see these traits. And I know some Aries who exhibit these traits that are not necessarily Lilith in Aries. So thank you for sharing that, Christina. Harmony Line said, I'm trying to find out where Lilith is in my chart. Very good. Thank you, Christina, for liking the live. Thank you, Elle, for liking the live. Thank you. Harmony Line said, I'm trying to find out where Lilith is in my chart. Very good. Thank you, Christina, for liking the live. Thank you, Elle, for liking the live. Thank you, Harmony Live. Let me go ahead. I'm going to pause for a minute, turn off my alarm before I come back to point number 3. 1 second, please. All right, I am back. I'm back. You guys let me know if you can hear me. If you can give me a thumbs up, I would appreciate it so I can know that I'm back on, because sometimes when you go away from the screen, things change. Are you still on? Can you hear me okay? Hi, Jennifer Arwood. Thanks for being here. Hi, Hold Up. Hold up. Wait a minute. Thank you for being here. Thank you. Okay, you guys are liking the live. I'm assuming everybody can hear me. Okay, very good. Lilith and Taurus, excited to hear. Very good. Christina, we share the same energy here. I have that at Chiron, but we can talk about that one next when we're done with Aries. Thank you for being here. Okay, moving on to number 3, rebellion as a reflex. So Aries Lilith automatically opposes authority, tradition, or expectations, even when compromise might be reasonable in some of these cases. So what that would look like is sabotaging opportunities, sabotaging relationships, sabotaging support systems to maintain their independence. So they have such a knee-jerk reaction to reject collaboration and to reject being dominated that sometimes they will literally shoot themselves in the foot out of very good opportunities because they don't want to see themselves as being weak, as being needy. Okay? Another aspect of this is loneliness and basically pushing people away. They have such a fierce need for autonomy that they can create social isolation in their own world. They may feel misunderstood or rejected for being too intense, being too much. And what that will look like is rejecting them before they reject you. So that's like withdrawing from social circles, withdrawing from people, cultivating this kind of lone wolf character persona that reinforces this exile kind of demeanor, like you've been exiled from society and you don't see society as a safe place. So you're basically sticking to you, yourself, and that's basically it. And, that is really a shadow of the emotional challenges of Lilith and Aries, because truth be told, we all need each other. All of us. I need you, you need me, everybody needs everybody. There's literally nothing that goes on in your life that you don't need anybody for. The reason why you live where you live is because somebody built that place for you to live there. The reason why you do the work you do is because somebody else is there doing that work with you. The reason you have water is because some people worked on the pipes for you to have water. There's literally nothing that you do that doesn't require other people. We are all one human society here on earth. We're like ants, okay? Who are learning to work together for the kingdom, for the empire. And everybody has a role to play, and our roles are intertwined. This idea that you can get through the world without needing anybody is a lie, and I need you to recognize that it's a lie that's coming out of your woundedness. It's from your childhood, because when you needed help, nobody was there to give it to you. The only help they gave you was criticism, was rejection, was making you feel small, trying to shut you up, trying to quiet you down, trying to control you, trying to make you hate yourself. That's all they ever gave you. Well, you're not there anymore. You're out of that home. You're grown up now. And now you understand it wasn't you, it was that environment. And now that you're out of it, I need you to think of healthy ways to create collaborative partnership that are sustainable, because life is better when you don't have to do it alone. Okay? And you may notice some of these people like really ended up alone and ended up like at the end of their lives, like alone. Like when I think about Madonna, I think socially isolated. When I think about Michael Jackson, socially isolated. Prince, socially isolated. Do you see the theme here? John Lennon. Do you see the theme here? So loneliness is sometimes self-imposed because you haven't tamed your energy. So you avoid situations to not come on too strong, but really you're supposed to be out there learning how to maneuver your fire so you can blaze your path without burning other people in the process, okay? Moving on to number 5, control issues in relationship. Lilith in Aries has a strong desire to assert themselves in relationships. They often have a strong will and they do not like being dominated. And as a result of that, in relationships, they will sometimes create conflict, unnecessary conflict nonetheless, so that they can assert their independence, so that they can assert their authority, they can assert their power over their spouses. They love to pick spouses that they see as very powerful, very dominant, for the sake of dominating and controlling them. This is a pattern that I see in my practice. They love people that are strong so that they can make them weak, so that they can be like, they can dog walk them, basically. And obviously strong people don't like being dog walked, so that creates issues in relationships. So the control issues that show up in relationships can make relationships places of instability for Lilith and Aries. The power struggles that they push upon their partners, sometimes they will create power struggles just so they can feel like they can tell their partner what to do. They love testing their partner by like putting them in situations where the partner has to pick them over other people. And when the partner doesn't, they see the partner as being unfaithful, as not being loyal. But all of that is manufactured conflict so that their ego, their self-esteem can get stroked. Because they need to feel like their partner's always in their corner, like no questions asked. And those tests really make it hard for their partner to in turn trust them. So the trust issues that they're trying to respond to in the relationship by creating these made up scenarios end up actually getting worse because they're not being sincere in their expression. What would be a more healthy way to handle that is for them to actually express those insecurities to their partner and then state what their boundaries are so that their partner can respect them, so they feel honored, and valued.
But oftentimes Lilith and Aries doesn't have the confidence when they're not healed to actually express what their boundaries are in partnership and to reveal their vulnerable side in partnership. And they will use dominance and power and control as a way to assert themselves in relationship, which naturally destroys like the good intentions in the relationship and the clean energy, because then it's like everything, it becomes toxic and underhanded. Okay. Number 6, suppressing anger. Lilith in Aries has had to learn to swallow their anger in childhood, because when they allowed themselves to feel it, it was too much. It was too big, it was too loud, it was too fiery, and they were often shamed and judged and criticized for it. So if early in life they were punished for being too bold, too strong, too assertive, what happens is later in life, when they become adults, they learn to bury their anger as a way to protect themselves, because they knew it wasn't safe to express their anger when they were little. So when they feel the anger, they hide it, they push it down, because they're afraid of doing too much, because that's what they've been told, right? You're too much, you're doing too much. So they bury it. And unfortunately for them, burying it doesn't make it go away. You know, the thing about feelings is us pretending not to have them doesn't make us not having them. You know, me pretending not to be angry doesn't make me not angry. It just delays the reaction. And oftentimes, when you bury it, when it finally does erupt, it comes out in very unhealthy ways. Because when it comes out when you lose control. Because remember, you were pushing it down, so you were controlling it, right? Pushing it down. And then eventually something happens where you lose control, and then it explodes. And the way that it explodes usually is unpredictable. It's more dramatic, more painful, and more hurtful than it would have been if you would have just, in a reasonable, calm state, addressed the issue. Because when you're addressing the issue in a reasonable and calm state, you actually have more control than the control that you think you have when you're repressing the issue. So it's really about you being more comfortable taking control of your emotions, being more comfortable expressing yourself emotionally, and be more comfortable stating what your emotional boundaries are. And the more comfortable you become with doing that, the easier it's going to be for you to express yourself without waiting, to explode at a time when you're not even prepared to process what's actually happening to you in that moment. Okay? Moving on to the next point, and this is going to be our last bullet point in terms of the emotional challenges of Lilith and Aries, is difficulty integrating safety with their desires. I need to drink some water for this one, because this one is a big one. Lilith and Aries is naturally a destructive placement, okay? When you're ruled by the god of war, the planet of war, your energy is destructive. That destruction is energy you're supposed to use to destroy the weakness that is in you, so you can still find the courage and the bravery to pursue your dreams, pursue your goals, pursue your desires, pursue your passion. The destruction is supposed to be self-inflicted. Aries is supposed to go to war with themselves, with their insecurities, so that they have the courage, the power, the will, the might to fight for themselves, even when a million people are telling them, you're never going to be anything, you're not going to do it, you're not going to make it, it's not going to work out. They're supposed to believe in themselves in the face of nothingness, okay? That is where the war is. But when Aries is unhealed, they think the war is out there. So that destruction, that destructive energy that they carry, then becomes a weapon that undermines their safety in the world. Does that make sense? So there is a requirement upon you as an adult to create a world for yourself that feels safe. That's your obligation as an adult. It's your responsibility as the owner of yourself to make sure that you're keeping yourself safe and your inner child safe. Keeping your inner child safe requires integrating your desires, your wants, your needs, your impulses with your sense of safety.
This is why Taurus comes after Aries, because at Aries, we haven't learned safety yet. We think every impulse is fun. Every impulse is exciting. You know, think about an infant, and I don't know how many of you guys are around infants, but infants will literally put everything in their mouth. Everything. They'll pick anything up off the floor and put it in their mouth. Toy, not toy, poison, not poison. They don't know any better. They don't care. They're just wanting to have this kind of oral fixation, like satisfied. Because at this stage, the oral stage, they're discovering shapes through their mouth. They haven't yet developed all these other cognitive abilities. So Aries as an infant struggles to understand what's safe and what's not safe. What impulse do I need to resist? And what impulse do I need to give into? And that's really at the root of the issue. And I think this one is a big one because as someone who works with clients, this one I see a lot. That is the number one issue that I see with Aries, right next to anger. So there's the anger, and then there's the inability to integrate the desire with the safety. These people will literally do things to destroy themselves just to make a point. Just to make a point. And logically, if they were to take a step back and think like 5, 10, 20, 30 years down the line on this decision, they would make another choice. But in that moment, all they cared about is how they feel and their ego and preserving their ego. And that's it. It's just, that's it. That's where it stops. I don't like this. I am going to do something about it. And that's perfectly fine. I don't like this. I'm going to do something about it. But the way that would just throw caution to the wind to do the most outrageous, like self-damaging thing is mind-blowing to me as a former practicing therapist, because we expect adults to have a level of foresight into the consequences of their behavior. And that's one area where Aries as a zodiac sign generally struggles, again, because they're the infant. So a lot of times their creative expression, their sexual expression get intertwined for their survival. So as an example, Aries Lilith or Aries Sun Moon Rising, Aries Mars, Aries any placement could be very happy in a relationship. I mean, very happy. Like they're like, oh, I'm in this relationship with this person. I love them. I'm happy. The same Aries person will go out to a bar with their friend and they'll start drinking. And they'll start having a good time. Next thing you know, they're going home with that stranger they've never met. And they're getting intimate with them. Next thing you know, 3 months later, they're pregnant. This is typical Aries behavior. But if you were to ask them if they were happy in their relationship, yes, they were happy. But the impulse to have sexual variety and to be able to, on a whim, be able to experience different things on a primal level. Because remember, sexuality is heavy for Aries because it's a primal zodiac sign. It's an animalistic zodiac sign. Aries is all about the flesh. Aries is all about the being themselves through their body. Okay, we're not here yet. We're in the gut. We're in the instincts. Okay, so it's all raw. It's all unbridled. It's all instincts. So it's, I like you. I find you attractive. I'm excited to see you. I feel turned on. I want to experience this. Never mind my commitments. Never mind my sense of integrity. Never mind my self-respect, never mind my vision for the future. It's really like all about winning in every moment. And sometimes winning that moment means losing a bigger loss. And unfortunately, Aries isn't often able to take a breath in that moment to decide whether this win is really a win or if this win might lead to a bigger loss. Christina said it's about proving to themselves that they're indestructible in a way. Yes, there's a very self-destructive nature to this placement when it's not handled well. Just because you can pull that person doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean that you like yourself.
It doesn't mean your self-esteem is through the roof. It doesn't mean that you have more money in your bank account. It doesn't mean that you're the best that they've ever had. It doesn't mean this is the best sexual experience you have ever had. It doesn't mean anything. It simply means that you simply could not resist your impulses. That's it. That's all it means. You couldn't resist your impulses. That's it. Which isn't really a sign of strength or confidence or power. Because in that moment, you had no control. Control is about autonomy. It's about a choice. Now, if you chose to do that because you're not happy in your relationship that is presumably monogamous and you're trying to get out of it, then yeah, own that. By all means. But oftentimes what I see in my practice is that they do things without thinking about the aftermath of the thing. And then later they're left feeling nostalgic about the loss that they've incurred as a result of that impulsive decision, which could have been halted had they simply analyzed the cost benefit of that action. And that's essentially what the challenge is. And it's not about rejecting the impulse. It's about integrating the impulse with your safety. If you desire to keep your life safe and stable, then the decisions that you make have to align with safety. They simply do. Otherwise, you will find yourself in a constant loop of chaos. And people who are in the constant loop of chaos cannot manifest. Manifestation requires safety. This is why Taurus rules money. Money likes safety. Money likes predictability. You know, when you think about money in terms of investments, who wants to invest their money somewhere where they don't know what the return is going to be? Raise your hand so I can see you. Do you want to invest your money somewhere and you don't know what your return is going to be? You don't know what you're going to get out of it? No, nobody wants that. People want to know exactly what they're going to get for the $1 they're investing. Manifestation is the same way. Life is the same way. This is why Libra represents balance. Balance is about peace, harmony, safety. Notice both Libra and Taurus are ruled by Venus, that same planet of love, of money. So it requires emotional intelligence, emotional maturity, and it requires an ability to self-reflect. And if Aries Lilith is willing to do that labor, they're going to come out of this as a fearless person, because this placement is truly that. The heart of Lilith and Aries is somebody who owns their fire. And they do so without fear of rejection because they accept themselves. They do so without fear of retaliation because they know if others come for them, they can destroy them. They do so without fear of isolation because they don't need to be isolated to feel powerful. You know, a huge part of their evolution is about trusting that asserting themselves doesn't mean they're going to lose their relationships. They're here to learn how to transform that deep-seated raw rage and defensiveness into grounded action, into conscientious choices, into autonomous sovereignty. It's about integrating their fierce independence with empowerment. It's about authentic leadership. It's not about isolation. So those are the emotional challenges of Lilith in Aries. What questions do you guys have about what we talked about today? I'm going to stop it here today. And next time we meet, we're going to talk about Lilith and Aries through the houses in terms of how to heal that specific area of your chart to align your energy with manifestation. I want to remind you that I'm having a giveaway all month long. To participate, all you have to do is donate $1 or whatever you like to the Trevor Project. You can donate directly right here on TikTok. A lucky donor is going to be selected for a 1 hour reading with me. My readings tend to focus on the psychology of astrology because I'm a former practicing mental health therapist, so psychology and emotional intelligence are very important to me. If you would like to schedule your own coaching with me, you can head over to intuitivehealing.com. I provide astrological coaching to help you understand your
astrology natal chart blueprint and how to use that to maximize your sense of empowerment and manifestation. You can also listen to the Aquarius podcast on YouTube and Spotify. This is our astrology podcast where I talk about the moon transit. Every time we have a new moon or a full moon, I have 4 YouTube channels. One is on love and relationship. It's called Styled Under Libra. One is on holistic health and wellness called Styled Under Virgo. I have my main YouTube page, which is intuitive healing. And of course, the Aquarius podcast has a concurrent YouTube channel that runs with that. So it's called the Aquarius podcast on YouTube, where you can go to listen to the astrology podcast. So that's pretty much it in terms of resources. Links in bio. The link is in bio for all those resources. Thank you so much. Hold Up said you did an awesome job. You're very wise. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it. It's from a lot of pain. I've been wounded a lot. The wisdom comes from pain, and my youthful appearance comes from Saturn, and I'm truly grateful for Saturn's gift to me. All right, y'all. If you don't have any other questions, thank you so much for hanging out.
You can book your astrology reading at intuitivehealing.com. You can also watch videos at Intuitive Healing here on YouTube for Astrology 101 content. Listen to the Aquarius podcast on Spotify, as well as here on YouTube for your horoscope. If you're interested in astrology and love connections, you can visit at Styled Under Libra. And of course, for health and wellness and holistic healing, visit at Styled Under Virgo for all of your astrology content. Thanks so much for watching.